Okay, this is a help desk session. I had a website that I ran for a pretty good while. I still got a website, but I don't take calls through it anymore because the other one was with a different, company and all that kind of thing, and it worked better. And so now I just put videos and stuff on my website, and I don't expect to have a whole lot of hits, but I have a good time. And I put some of these videos on there. But whenever this people would send me emails to my website, if I had success helping somebody or it was an interesting thing, I started saving these and putting them out here. This guy says transmission automatic was bad, and after they towed it to the shop, it froze in the park. That means you couldn't get it out of park, right? And that's the guy that disconnected and replaced the transmission, which ran great once. It froze in park again. We're all stumped. It gives us an idea of where to look for the trouble. Could it be a gear shift in the steering column? Worse. And if that isn't bad enough, how tough is it to fix? Engine is half rebuilt already. That's in great shape. 93 Mercury Sabre. So, what you gonna tell them? They can't get it out of park. You have to think beyond what they're saying sometimes. And think about what you know that you have to do to take it out of park.
Put your foot on brake.
Put your foot on brake. Okay, so what does that have to do with taking it out of park? I mean, obviously you got to put your foot on brake to take it out of park. But how does it know your foot's on the brake? It's obviously something electrical, right? There you go. Fix the wires at the stoplight switch. That's probably the trouble. Let me know what you find. You were right on target. $10 part to reconnect the wires and runs the drive like brand new. Ships without any problem. Right. Yeah. All right. So I got an LTD. Now I didn't correct their spelling. This is what the way they said it. Went to the grocery store and turned the car off, took the keys out, went inside, got my groceries, came back out, put the groceries in as I was doing so I could hear my fuel pump running, even though the keys were in my pocket. I got in, started up the car, headed on. Halfway there, the car shut off and wouldn't start back. I pulled over, turned the key on and off, listening for the fuel pump. The fuel pump never would come back on. What could have caused this and what I need to do to fix it? The only recent work done is I had the alternator replaced and the belts. The engine's a standard V8. 88 Crown Vic. Okay, so talk to me about the computer. I'm trying to get you guys to do some critical thinking. I see wheels turning in your head. What's going on over there?
Had my left the ignition switch back. I don't know.
This one's really easy. Sounded like a fuel pump relay stuck and then failed. It's the relay with the green connector on the left fender apron. Hit the nail on the head. I replaced the relay, started it right up, it's doing fine. The points were scorched and all. All right, in the past few months, every time I back up and start forward, if there's any slipping of the tires, such as the snow or the gravel, a message appears will check it, traction control. Check traction control. Then the radio goes off. The windows won't work, and finally the car dies. I can have it jumped off and it'll be fine until the next time a scenario happens. Can I turn the traction control off or will this cause any damage?
Yeah, you can turn the traction.
This is a bunch of complicated electrical problems, isn't it? It's like the radio not working on a Jeep, something like that.
On that one, on my town car, it was actually in the dash. You could check turn stuff on those.
On my Grand Prix.
Now think about that. We had traction control issues, we had windows, we had radio. You gotta really, and this one right here, well, this is Lincoln LS. Traction control is not causing that. You have a bad ignition coil. Somebody just has to find out which one it is. You have several. I've replaced 2 ignition coils. My mechanic told me I need to replace the others. He was not able to detect the problem with this. Can't wait to tell him. The ignition coils, bad ignition coils cause all kinds of electrical interference on those cars. And if you hear one doing all kind of wild and crazy stuff, suspect the ignition coils. I've actually seen expeditions that were running crazy as all get out. And you pull the ignition coils and plug them back in one at a time, and you'll get to one that clears it up. It'll be skipping, but it won't be doing all this other crazy stuff. All right. Hey, a 98 Dodge Grand Caravan. Bought this van about a month ago, and it's got over 100,000 miles. We've been fine for about 2 weeks. Transmission leaked the red oil. So the garage where I bought the car from repaired the transmission. Now, about 2 weeks down the road, I find that sometimes my gears would slip. I put the gear in reverse, sometimes it don't catch, and the engine just revs. When I'm driving, sometimes the gear would go to neutral, the car doesn't go forward. I had to stop and put the gear in place, but sometimes it just takes a while before it catches. on reverse, and put it, drive it back to reverse before it would work, take it back to the garage. But I hope you don't mind explaining to me what the possible problems are. Prefer to get an independent expert. Wow, expert. Yeah, that's me. All right, so, oh, that's that. What's the face palm about, okay? What should they do? What you gonna tell them? I'm trying to get you all to think now. These are thinking. We're gonna think. What does it sound like? Tim, crank it up, put it in gear, hum, hum, hum. It grabs. That's one of the earliest things I learned about automatic transmissions.
Man, sleeping.
Sound like low on fluid. Especially if it drops into neutral when you're going around a curve and doesn't want to engage first thing in the morning. Check the transmission fluid, the engine warm and running. They took the garage and kept it for half a day and told him it'd be $500. So I took the car to another place and asked them to check the transmission fluid. They said it's low, filled it up, don't have a problem anymore. It was low on fluid. That's all it was. You're a genius because the guys at the garage were talking about taking the whole transmission down and actually pinpoint the problem from just the description. Say, what's up with this? You know, check the fluid first before you do anything else. You got it? Or are y'all getting something from all of this? You see what I'm saying? You're getting something from this?
Kind of true.
Yeah.
But what I had said a while ago about the fuel pump, I don't even know why I said that, because that don't have nothing to do with it. It just has something to do with the radio. But whenever you go to crank a vehicle, why can you take the key out? Like you're not supposed to.
Oh,
Like,
that's because
some
the
lights-
ignition switch is wore out.
Oh.
That's what's wrong with that. I mean, if that key's worn out enough, you can turn it on and just pull the key out, yeah.
I can do that one on.
Now, I'll tell you something else that happens with the lock cylinder, ignition lock cylinder. It's really annoying because a lot of cars don't have ignition lock cylinders anymore. But whenever you go to, like this happened with the van that belonged to the college over there. Joey went over there, had a bunch of students with him. He took on a field trip. He stopped to gas it up on the way back from Enterprise. And he called me and he said when he got back in it was like he had somebody else's key. Ignition switch just wouldn't turn it off. And he's using the right key, but something went wrong down in there. And I've seen that on Jeeps. I've seen it on Saturns. I've seen it on Fords. I've seen it on all kinds of vehicles. I mean, you stick the key in there and suddenly the key don't work anymore. It's just like, you have to drill the dadgum lock cylinder out. You know, if you got to kind of know how to do that, but it's aggravating.
When I had a Jeep, my friend had a Jeep at the same time, and we could crank our Jeeps with each other's keys.
Yeah, that's right. There's only so many different key cuts, you know. So, I've seen that before when I was working at the dealership. I got out there one time, I drew a key on a Ford Tempo that had some kind of a running problem. I went out there, just walked out there and said, well, there ain't a lot of Tempos out here, there, you know, boom. Jumped in the car, fired it up, figured out what was wrong with it, said, yeah, this thing needs an engine controller, all that kind of stuff. And so I put an engine controller on it, and then I found out I was working on the wrong car. Because the one that I was supposed to be working on, the same key fit that one. That's fairly common if you do run through a lot of cars. I have the alternator belt broke the other day, 2000 Chrysler Cirrus, and I replaced it. Now the engine won't turn over. Don't, you know. Now, I figured the battery was drained, so I jumped it, but it still won't turn over. Then I thought I might have it on too tight, so I loosened it a little bit. That didn't help any either. Thanks. That was one I got from Tina. No, not really. All right, come on. Put on your thinking cap. Hey, I got a bunch of these PowerPoint presentations. Y'all want to go through that? No, think about it. What you gonna tell them to
Either
do?
a bad battery or a bad starter.
All right. He said a bad battery or a bad starter. As I'm seeing a nod. Do I get a wink from over here?
That's
Bad starter. What you got?
well, we might not
What do you think?
Once it started.
You know, they start. Everybody else don't start, right? Speak up. Remove the belt and see if it'll start that way. It sounded like something's locked up. If it does start, check the pulley driven by that belt and see which one won't turn. He said, I didn't know what you said, the car started without the belt. So when I checked the pulley, it was the AC one that was locked up. The bearing in the AC compressor plate was locked up. How did I know that? Just from what they told me. Because the belt broke. And then he put another belt on it, and then it wouldn't turn over. So something seized up and caused the first belt to break, and the new belt was strong enough where it weren't going to break. You get where I'm going? All right. I mean, this is a thinking thing. And there's one girl that used to be in here. You remember the black car I was talking about that she said that the transmission was taking off in high gear, and she called and she said, me and my dad are looking at it, and I said, check the fuses. And so she said, I told my dad, you said check the fuses, and he said, you was an idiot. And he says, she said, I checked the fuses and I found one blown, and when I put that in there, that fixed it. Well, see, it was feeding the transmission solenoids, and whenever they ain't got no power, it's always in high gear. Basically what it amounts to. But her same car, she said, my car needs a starter. I said, why do you think it needs a starter? She said, because it goes thump, 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 and it won't start. I said, well, we can do something with that. I mean, you don't have to skip school for that. So I sent some of the guys over there, and they dragged the car back, took the belt off. Same problem with this one. Put her bearing, like a $17 bearing, in the AC compressor. Of course, she just used, you know, she was using it for, she wasn't even using the air conditioner, but it just needed to be able to spin, you know. My car starts to hum at certain speeds. It's an automatic, so when it's in fourth gear, it starts to hum. I don't know why they worded it this way. It's an automatic, but when it's in fourth gear, it starts to hum. What, do you know what this could be? That's not a lot of information, is it?
No.
The heck do you do with that? All right, so I said, does it change with the throttle angle or vehicle speed remaining in 40? Yes, if I go past 40, see, it's supposed to be PAST and then put PASCD, it starts to hum pretty loudly. I said, if you swerve gently back and forth, does the humming get quieter or does it stop? If so, it's a hub bearing. So if you swerve back and forth, does it change the sound of the hum? He said, I found out it was a hub bearing. Went to a mechanic and tried to take advantage of me, and I was able to break down the symptoms of possible cause. He all of a sudden took me seriously. Usually we're one. I mean, like if they give, you know, if you have an idea, you kind of know what you're talking about, you know. So listen. All right, headlights or dash lights won't turn on. The electric lock has stopped working. The remote will not unlock the doors. The interior lights won't come on either. I've checked the fuses and all seems to be okay. Thanks, TF. Need a first time fix. Fix it right the first time. Figure it out. Anybody need a lifeline? All right. That's body computer stuff. Try this. Disconnect the battery. Take the two cables you disconnected from the battery. Touch the two cables together for about 20 seconds. Reconnect the two cables to the battery. See if it changes anything. Thank you very much. Your suggestion worked. The headlights and everything else works fine now. It's a huge relief. Thought I was going to have to pay buku bucks to find out what was wrong. I'd recommend you any day. Now, why did that do that? Huh?
We had to replace the computer in mine.
That's it. It's over. You're going to touch the battery cables together and without that. But
No.
what you did on that, I've seen that on some of these other vehicles. If you pull both battery cables off and touch I ain't talking about touch the terminals on the battery together, but touch the battery cables together, it wipes out all of the memory. It's like rebooting your computer because it gets trash stored in it. Okay? And a crazy thing about that Dodge Caravan, and I got a video on YouTube about that, you could actually look at the scan tool and it was reading that you were mashing the buttons, but it wouldn't work the doors. Maybe we should do that on that F-150, huh? Wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? All right, check engine light's been coming on for the last 2 weeks. Tries to die occasionally when idling and misfires while driving. Bucks and kicks and loses power. Diagnostics showed 2 codes, PO340, no cam signal at PCM, and PO351, ignition coil number 1 primary circuit. I replaced both the crankshaft sensor and the ignition coil, and I've had no success. Also checked the ASD relay, and it seems to be fine. The ASD relay is an automatic shutdown relay, and it powers up the alternator field, the injectors, and other things. I think Kayla's zoned out on me over there. All right. Do that. What's this guy? What's this guy? What's he got to do? What you gonna tell him?
The power control module.
Yeah. Well, the cam sensor needs to be adjusted. What's wrong with it? He said, I saw in my hands repair book where on the 99 earlier model, the cam sensor found within the distributor known as a stator would replacing this help. I said, no. You need to do to make sure it's adjusted right. Replacing it won't do anything. He said, I removed the old camshaft sensor. It seems to be in good condition. I've also aligned the pulse ring, alignment hole, blah, 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 blah. I had to rotate the crankshaft outside of TDC. Seems like the pulse ring is fixed to the shaft. How do I align the pulse ring with its appropriate mating alignment hole? And I got pictures of that in a minute. The distributor housing needs to be rotated. You may have to modify the distributor hold down, because some of them have a little fork on them where you couldn't turn them. Make this happen so the pulse ring is aligned with the distributor housing. Okay, I aligned the pulse ring with a hole in the distributor housing, replaced the camshaft sensor just for the heck of it. It has run fine for 2 days, and keep my fingers crossed. I had this Jeep, red Jeep Cherokee that I talked about. I wrote an article about, and it was basically start bucking and humping and going down the road, and it would be dropping companion cylinders. It would be 1 and 6, or 2 and 5, or 3 and 4 every time. It was always companions, and it was throwing codes for coil faults, right? Well, when I got to digging into that, and after about a week of fooling around with it, and finally figured, I said, well, I got the oscilloscope, and I hooked it up, and so I looked at I kind of knew you're supposed to have these 4, and then the switch between on the cam sensor is supposed to be halfway between 2 of the little 4 towers. This is crank, and the cam would be the one that's 50% duty cycle in there. And when I adjusted that, all those problems went away. And all this trouble I went through, and all this scoping I did and everything, I said, I think I'm going to check this thing, and brought it over to top dead center, and I lined that thing up, and I stuck a toothpick through the hole in the spinning cup, and that's what you're supposed to do, line it up properly, and it was perfectly lined up. And I call that article Scan Tools, Oscilloscopes, and Toothpicks. And so, the old guy, Mac Vandenbrink, he is a scope expert and all that. He read my article, and he sent me a copy of one of his PowerPoint presentations and a toothpick. That's what it looks like. Right there. See? Got a little fork with a slot that be cut off. There's your pulse ring, everything. And the plastic alignment pin, it lines that, goes into the distributor. When you get it, it's all lined up like that. You got to be on PVC before you put it in. When you turn this distributor here, you're not changing the ignition time, and all you're actually changing is cam sensor indexing, and you're also changing the rotor index. When you turn a regular distributor that's got points for a stator in it or something like that, you're changing the relationship between that stator and the outside of the distributor, and that causes the fire to happen at a different time. Anyway. All right, we had soaking wet carbon on the front passenger side of the van only. Front passenger side only, soaking wet carpet. We had not run through any rain the first time it happened. I immediately thought the air conditioner condensation must be driven inside the van. My wife talked to another woman that has a 2003 Chrysler van similar to ours, and she has this, hers does the same thing. Where have you heard of this happening before? What are we going to do about that? This is air conditioning class now, come on. Run into this on the Chrysler product and you don't have an answer, you may work your fanny off and look like a buffoon in the end. This is what's going on right here. See that? That's the evaporator drain. This is one that we had in here that was doing this garbage. I took a picture of it. The evaporator drain, this is like, you pour, how when you pour your coffee, it runs down the, outside of it. It's running back in here, and what's inside there? This is that foam, and behind what's inside that's the carpet. Now enough of that water trickles in there, it saturates the carpet. So you wind up with the whole passenger side. Now, if it's antifreeze in there, what's the quickest way to tell if it's antifreeze? Huh?
Smell it.
Taste it. Is it sweet? No. Why is it every time I do that, all my auto mechanics do is go, come on, that's like that. I don't want to get my hands greasy. You can spit it out when you're done, okay? All right, so what we do is we get silicone and we smear it all around this where it repels that water. That good? You like that? Thanks for the helpful information about how to fix this. I did what you said to fix the problem. Thanks again. Ta-da! We fixed that one. All right, Cowboys and old Ford pickup trucks. You want to hear about Cowboys and old Ford pickup, right? Got several of my friends on old Ford pickup, V8 motors, 2 or 351 wind reval, 89, others 460, early 90s. We all seem to be having the same problem. Fuel detonation not. We're running high test fuel now, is the cause of the least problem. To the motor, not our wallets. Okay, so I have had plugs changed using platinum plugs, went higher temp on the thermostat, which made it worse. Check timing, new wires, rotor cap, new blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. These 2 parts in it. We've got all our trucks to pull fairly large horse trailers, and we'd like to figure out how to fix the problem. So if you have any suggestions, remedies, advice, short of buying a new truck, I would love to hear them. What's causing the old trucks to ping and detonate and labor knock? You got any idea? What happens on an older engine? What do you look at there, you see a bunch of carbon on the cylinder head on top of the piston, right? As that carbon begins to take up space inside that combustion chamber, it causes it to get really hot in there, hotter than it should be, and it causes detonation and pinging. Now what pinging is, I don't know if you've ever heard it, you know, there's not as much of that going on because you got knock sensors now that retard the timing on given cylinders whenever it's making a pinging. But whenever the piston's coming up, if it's hot enough in there because of the higher compression that it causes the mix to light off before the spark plug fires, it basically causes it, you know, ping, you got an explosion happening in there while the piston's coming up and it rings. All right, so that's what it is. Now, if any engine, new or old, will give us a problem, I'll tell you something that'll cause this problem is if you run premium fuel in one that's not made for it. A premium fuel burns slow, it leaves some stuff in there and it starts to cake up and make carbon. All right, this so happens these guys are all driving older Fords, what you tell them. All right, this is where I start on everything else. But yet, carbon in the combustion chamber raises compression, causes spark. Carbon is generally caused by years of driving using high octane fuel. With the engine in a large open area where smoke won't bother anybody, the air cleaner, I'll pull the throttle open and trickle some top F automatic transmission fluid in there. And that softens the carbon in the chamber on the head and on top of the piston. You'll see a lot of smoke. I mean, it smokes up the whole parking lot. All right, after running a quart of top F through that way, follow up with a pint of cool water. Pour that through there. And don't put either the fluid or the water in too fast. The engine will run crappy during these maneuvers, and you may see some specks of water on your dipstick, but the PCV system will steam it out after a little bit. After running the fluid and the water through and letting it work on the carbon, drive it fairly aggressively until all the smoke is gone. Best part of this is it's not expensive, nor does it take a lot of skill, but it does kill mosquitoes. All right, so make sure the EGR valve on each truck is connected, working properly. That allows you to take care of the spark knock and never use high-test fuel. That will cause more problems than it solves on an engine designed for 87. So this guy did this. Engine was idling smoother. It was starting easier. I got to where if you shut it off, then 5 minutes later, went to start it, it would be slow to crank. Won't, won't, won't. It's kicking back because it's too hot. Much better now. Now, still got some detonation knock. Do it again. He says the friend recommended do the same thing using only seafoam, but the result will be the same. I just going to use transmission fluid at $250 rather than seafoam at $12. So if you do it again, you get rid of the rest of the carbon. It took care of it. Okay, so let me tell me something that you know now that you didn't know before. What do you know? Have you ever thought about being a service advisor where you have to talk to customers? One of the things I used to get really disgusted with my service riders whenever I was working over there was you would get a ticket that would say, runs rough. That's all you'd have, you know. And there was one guy that, brilliant, was in a big hurry when he was writing the invoice, writing the work order. He said, windshield won't separate rain from water. Heck you do with that? That's a true story, I didn't make that up. And so you go out there and say, what the heck is this? And then they'd always have to call and get, you know, clarification on it and stuff. And, but see, the thing about it is you got to be able to listen to what these people are saying. If you have a chance, like I told you the other day, if you're working on a noise or something that's sort of, you know, subjective, that you not sure that you know what the customer, sometimes you may have to insist that the customer ride with you and they can point out what they're talking about. Because you may be hearing and feeling stuff, and they'll come back and say, well, I don't feel it now. Well, one of the things you don't want to do is call something to their attention if it's not safety related. You know what I mean? Like, you don't tell them that you do. Well, I feel an engine surge. Is that what you're talking about? And all of a sudden, they want you to go after an engine surge they weren't even paying no attention to before. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can make a lot of trouble for yourself. So you tell me what you want fixed, and I'll go after it. You know, don't volunteer any information. You got me? Because they'll use that against you if you're not really careful. And then that surge is all they can think about from now on. And that kind of stuff. But anyway, you got to be able to draw enough data out of the people that you're talking to about their vehicle where you'll know where to start, and they'll be happy when you're done. Remember I told you before, stay on task. Whenever you're working on one overheating, make sure you stay on that task and don't work on anything else that's not related to that. You know, or you'll go off on a tangent and spend a bunch of money they don't want to spend. They'll be upset about that. But like I say, if you see something safety related, I mean, like if you see tie rod ends are trying to come apart, or you know, or something like, you know, brakes are wired together with baling wire and are worn out and all that kind of stuff, or something that's flopping around loose. It's amazing what people will do as a workaround. There's one lady who called in on click and clack one day, said she had a valve over the ignition lock was down here in the column, in the console, and she said that she tried to start it. If it wouldn't start, she'd pour a little water down there and then it'd start up. So she always kept some water in the cup holder, and she'd always pour water down in there. And this other guy said that he had his, this little, some kind of car, I forgot what it was. He said he was backing out of the driveway, it was snowy, and it slid down there, and the tailpipe hooked on the mailbox post or something, it bent it. So that it was, you know, it was coming out the side, it bent it forward. And he said, but since that happened, the car runs a whole lot better than it ever did before. He said, do I need to fix this, or can I just leave it alone because it runs? But people have a tendency to work around a problem. Can I get a witness? You know, she gets all muscled up driving a car with no power steering fluid, you know. But you still got good power steering? Yeah, that feels good, don't it? She don't grumble as much now about her steering as she used to, does she, Tim? All right, anybody got anything to add to that? Everybody's got a story, right? Yeah, I bet you do.
I have a question.
All right, what's your question?
Okay, we had talked about the water pump when me and Jennifer and you was over there.
Right, the water pump drinking, the water's trickling from behind the pool, yeah.
And you were saying that the water pump has to be there. Like, what does it, okay, the car that we have, it don't work, like it's locked up for work. So what does it do, like, it just burns the belt off?
Oh, if the water pump's locked up, you mean? Well, if the bells will slip, you know, on the water pump if it's locked up. Now, if what you're talking about is a situation where the bearings are seized up in the water pump.
Because we had, like, put antifreeze in it and all, and just bought a new thermostat for it, and we had to crank it up, and it was like burning smell, and it wasn't, the water pump wasn't spinning, it was just all the other ones spinning up.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, so you had the water pump was seized up on it. A lot of times if the bearings go bad, that impeller will dig into the housing behind the water pump, and it'll cause it to freeze up for that reason. And that's
Like, it worked before, but then we don't know how it got locked up, it's just been sitting there.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that just because of it?
that happens too, yeah. And, we had one, and this is another good story, and then I'll let y'all get back to work. This white F-150 that had a 4.2 in it, a 97 model. And sitting in the service bay, that thing would run just as cool as a cucumber. But whenever you went to drive off on it, before you even got, you know, 100 feet away from the door, it was trying to peg out and overheat. But you could pull it back in, and it would run cool. I mean, it would idle all day, run just as cool as a cucumber, till you tried to drive it. And you know what was wrong with that one? We pulled the water pump off, and the impeller had come off of the water pump, was laid over against the, there was no impeller on the water pump. Now, I don't know why it was running okay sitting in the service bay. I mean, that's the last thing you'd think of was the water pump. You'd figure if the water pump would run hot all the time. But it only ran hot when you're trying to drive it.
Is it easy to change the water pump? The motor is a V6 and all the
What vehicle was that? What kind of vehicle was it?
2008 Grand Prix.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of vehicles around your place over?
Yeah. This was my cousin's car, and we're buying it from her mom.
Okay. Oh, and this is recent.
We've had it for a long time.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
But we're just now starting to, because when we first did get it, we had gotten the brakes for it and the hub assemblies for it.
Okay. All right. So you got all that taken care of already? All right then. All right. Anybody else got anything to say? Anybody else done?
When you was talking about the motor with the cylinder, or the combustions and all, with the ringing and all, that's the causing of like the knocking motor?
Yeah, it depends on the knock. Now, if you've got a bearing knock because of worn out bearing, I ain't gonna fix that.
Well, I was just gonna ask how, like, I know what knocking sounds like in an engine and all, but
When you're driving up a hill and it sounds like, you know, I'm talking about the labor knock going up the hill, that's what I'm talking about, detonation. And then also, you know, when you started it hot, it was trying to kick back. You know, that was because of the same kind of thing. There was